When I was a child, I lived in a rented-to-floor house. My father and mother both had to work, so I was often alone in the house when I got back from school. One day, I was delayed on my way back from school. It was early evening when I got home and the house was dark. I called out, "Mom," and heard a faint voice say yes. From upstairs, I called my mom again, and again got the same yes reply. It sounded like she was calling me, so I started climbing up the stairs. When I reached the first floor, I called her once more and heard the yes, coming from the back bedroom. I felt a certain uneasiness and wanted to see my mother as soon as possible, so I hurried closer to the back room. I was about to open the bedroom door when suddenly, I heard sound of the front door downstairs opening. My mother came in, carrying lots of shopping bags. "Sweetie, I'm back. Are you home?" She called out to me in a bright voice. Hearing her voice, I completely regained my confidence and ran downstairs. Just then, I happened to glance over my shoulder towards the back bedroom. The door to the room slowly opened with a creak. For a moment, I saw something strange in the gap of the door. The pale face of a man was staring directly at me. It was 2002 and I was 13 years old. I had dark blonde hair, blue-green eyes, and braces. I lived with my mom, dad, and older brother in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I was an average girl from an average middle-class family. I was shy and wrote poetry. I was rarely in trouble. Sometimes I would go outside with my friends to play in the park. Sometimes I would stay at home and play on the computer. I was on the computer a lot. Not just an hour a day, but hours a day. I had a profile on Yahoo, where I posted pictures of myself. My screen name was 𝚜𝚑𝚎, and my profile listed my interests as witchcraft, hypnosis, and mythology. It said I wanted to be an astronaut and a model, which is a really weird combination. All I remember is starting to chat online with this person. I assumed it was a boy my age, because he was interested in the same things I was. The Spice Girls and Titanic. We chatted online for about 8 months. He always listened to me and said what I wanted to hear. "Your teacher is stupid," or "Why should you tidy your room when that's your mom's job?" On New Year's Day, I arranged to meet him in person for the first time. After dinner, I told my mom I was going to my room for a few minutes. I told her I would come back down for dessert. We were having apple walnut pie. Instead, I sneaked out to finally meet my online friend in person. I walked up maybe a block or so, and I stood there for a moment. Suddenly, that little voice in my head spoke up. It said, "Alicia, what are you doing? This is really stupid. You need to turn around and go back home." The moment I went to turn around, I heard my name being called. There was no boy there, it was a man. The next thing I knew, I was in a car, and this huge monster was squeezing my hand so tightly, I thought it was broken. He was barking commands at me. "Be good. Be quiet. The trunk's cleaned out for you." I had no idea where he was taking me or what he planned to do with me. It wasn't until we came to the toll booth that I realized he was taking me out of state. All I could think was, I'm so far away from home. How are my parents going to find me? After a 5-hour journey, he took me to his home, where he pulled me down a flight of steps and kept me captive in his basement dungeon. It was full of strange torture devices, including a cage. He kept me naked with a dog collar around my neck, which was chained to a bolt in the floor. The chain was just long enough to allow me to go to the toilet. "It's okay to cry," he said coldly. "This is going to be hard for you." The man who abducted me then starved me, beat me, tortured me, and abused me. He even broadcast the abuse to his friends online. I did whatever I had to do to survive. No matter how painful, humiliating, or disgusting, I did it because I wanted to live. On the morning of the 4th day, he looked at me and said, "I'm beginning to like you too much. Tonight we're going to go for a ride." This is it, I thought. I knew he was going to kill me. I accepted the fact that I wasn't going to make it out of there alive. He went off to work, leaving me alone in the basement, lying on the floor, naked and weeping. I felt pure despair. How could I escape? I was just 13 years old. Not long afterwards, I heard banging on the door. I heard voices screaming, "We have guns! We have guns!" I figured he had sent people to hurt me or kill me, so I rolled underneath the bed, trying to hide. I was absolutely terrified. Just then, a man stepped round the corner, and on the back of his jacket, I saw the 3 most beautiful letters in the alphabet. F, B, I. I knew then that I was safe. Later, they told me how they had found me. On the 3rd day of my captivity, an anonymous caller had contacted the FBI and told them he had seen a video online of me being tortured. In the video, I was chained to the wall and crying. He told them he knew the kidnapper's first name was Scott and his screen name was Master for teen_slave girls. The FBI managed to trace the screen name to a Yahoo profile. The IP address associated with the account led them to a man named Scott Tyree. He was 38 years old and was a computer programmer from Virginia. He also had a 12-year-old daughter. She had stayed at his house during the Christmas holidays. She had only gone home to her mother's house on New Year's Day, the same day I was abducted. He was arrested, convicted, and sentenced to 19 years in prison. After 4 days of unspeakable torture, I was reunited with my parents. I thought I'd done something wrong, that they didn't love me anymore, but they welcomed me home with open arms. My mom said it was like I had come back from the dead. My dad couldn't stop hugging me and said he was just glad I was alive, but I was never the same again. Vlad Ksăciu was a 43-year-old man who lived in Bucharest, Romania, and worked as a fire eater in a circus. Vlad would always hold a flammable cocktail in his mouth, so he could spit fire at a burning torch. He called it eating the fire, and it always got a big round of applause. On the 23rd of January 1998, Vlad was performing his fire-spitting routine when he accidentally swallowed some of the flammable liquid. As he put a flaming torch in his mouth to eat the fire, he burped. The vapors from his stomach caught fire and Vlad suddenly exploded. The stunned onlookers assumed it was all part of an amazing illusion. At first, they started clapping. Then, they slowly realized what had happened. The explosion was so powerful that Vlad's body was blown to pieces. They found his head in a popcorn machine. The tragedy horrified onlookers in the circus, and many of the audience members required treatment for shock following the incident. "It was the most awful thing I've ever seen," said one witness. "He was so graceful and everyone was applauding. Then he burped and was blown to bits.